something is important enough, you believe in it enough that you do it in spite of the fear.
For sure, in recent years, billionaire has become a pejorative. It's like that's a bad thing. I think that doesn't make a lot of sense in most cases. If you basically organize a company, how does this wealth arise? It's if you organize in a better way to produce products and services that are better than what existed before.
What is the price to success? Elon Musk's success secrets. Do you want to succeed? If yes, you need to work hard. Not only hard, but very hard, especially if you're starting your company. This is hard. Even if you have to sleep at your office, you should. Don't waste a second of your time and increase your creativity. If you need to compete, you should be working twice as hard as the competitor company is working. That's how you will succeed. At the very least, being focused on something that you're convinced will be of high value to someone else, and being really rigorous in your assessment of that value, because individuals are susceptible to basic human inclinations, such as wishful thinking. That's essential. So, for entrepreneurs, the question is, what is the difference between truly believing in new principles and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have worth in the first place? It's a pretty difficult thing to tell you, and I'm sorry for that. How well do you think you can detect the difference between those two things? We understand, and as a result, you must be extremely thorough in your self-analysis. We are, without a doubt, incredibly tenacious thinkers who then work like monsters. We're talking about putting in 80 to 100 hours per week at the very least. That's one way you might be able to succeed. That's the price you need to pay. When you're young, it's the perfect moment to start a business. Obligations and commitments will increase as you become older, and this will have an impact on your family. You will have less time as a young person, but it is the greatest time to take risks and follow your intuition and ideas. Obligations and time constraints will always drive us to avoid taking risks that could harm our family or children. Taking calculated risks at the proper time will provide unimaginable results and propel you forward. So there will always be a price you need to pay every time you run for success.
And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she'd have to sleep in the office. So work hard like every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. And if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company.
And you have some ownership in that company, then that essentially gives you the right to allocate more capital. There's a conflation of consumption and capital allocation.
Put this many hours into work, and this is not good. And people should not work this hard. They should not do this. This is very painful. It hurts my brain and my heart. It hurts. This is not recommended for anyone. I just did it because if I didn't do it, then good chance Tesla would die.
You need to work, depending upon how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? When my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. We showered at the YMCA, and we're so hard up we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day and I was coding at night.
When you take Warren Buffett, for example, and to be totally frank, I'm not his biggest fan, but he does like capital allocation, and he reads a lot of sort of annual reports of companies and accounting, and it's pretty boring, really. And he's trying to figure out, is Coke or Pepsi deserve more capital? It's kind of a boring job, if you ask me. It's still a thing that's important to figure out, like which is a company deserving of more or less capital? Should that company grow or expand? Is it making products and services that are better than others or worse? And if the company is making compelling products and services, it should get more capital, and if it's not, it should get less or go out of business. Being really rigorous in making that assessment a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them, pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell you. Can you tell the difference between those two things? So you need to be sort of very rigorous self-analysis.
Tesla really faced a severe threat of death due to the Model 3 production ramp. Essentially, the company was bleeding money like crazy, and just if we didn't solve these problems in a very short period of time, we would die, and it was extremely difficult to solve them.
I really need to give some thought to like, how can I provide advice that would be most helpful? And I'm not sure I've given enough thought to give you the best possible answer, but I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else.
And we're able to unlock some of the critical things that were holding us back from reaching 2,000 cars a week. But since then, we've continued to do 2,000 cars a week.